Hi, SaigaX here. Today we're going to be going over the mastery and skill tree for the Swordsman class in Chrono Odyssey. So we're going to go over the three weapons they have: dual blades, sword and shield, and greatsword. So dual blades really bring out the damage. They have a lot of AoE. Spinning strike, again, it grants a threat increase. Not really too much of a worry. A lot of the gameplay that I've experienced so far is going to be solo. There is group content, but like we are still very early game. Decreases the rage cost. Again, this is a rage-based class, so attacks, melee basic attacks build rage, and then you have builders and you have spenders, and this is definitely a spender here. So this is pretty good, probably as an tanking ability or an off tank ability, So swapping from your sword and shield, moving to the dual blades. Execute a spinning attack that pulls enemies in. Again, dual blades really excel on the AoE, so they're very strong, and apparently they increase a lot of threat. So using this with sword and shield would be probably ideal. The extend of the pull radius increases final strike. This is pretty solid. Do like this. Counter strike 1. Counter attacks are very, very hard to land, at least in my experience, and I hope that they fix that. Who knows? We'll have to see. Again, it's still very, very early in the beta phases. Reduces the cooldowns of counter strike. This is, again, it's an okay thing. It's just hard to land. Unless you are fighting an enemy and trying to predict all of its movements, you're not gonna just be able to throw this out blindly and land this. And when you do land it, you do want to make sure that you are regaining HP. Swift assault charges towards the enemy and taunting them. Again, using this in conjunction with sword and shield would be really good. Moving down reduces the cooldown. Upon blocking an attack, reduces the cooldown. Again, this is your block. You just have a right click to block on this class. Very, very strong. Moving on to the passives, basic attacks. Every class pretty much has one of these. And then this is a buff for it. Attack upon first strike of a basic attack. Basic attacks have attack chains. They're very, very good. After using a skill, reduces incoming damage by 5%. So this would, again, aid to that tanking lifestyle because this class is one of the tanks in Chrono Odyssey. Reduces the cooldown of dual blade skills by blocking an attack. Very, very strong. Upon switching to dual blade, generates 50 rage. Again, this is something that you definitely want, especially if you're using this to tank. You're going to have to swap back and forth. Increases the damage of critical hits by 100%. This is just really, really strong. And recovers 3% HP. So using this and running a crit building in this kind of playstyle would be very, very strong. Nimble movement and click shock with a 40% chance upon landing the final strike of a basic attack. I haven't gotten to this, but I assume that this is going to be something that you just get because shock is pretty good because when hit, 10% to trigger a lightning strike, dealing 35% additional damage and reducing stagger resistance. Stagger resistance, once a mob is out of their stagger bar, they fall to the ground and then you're able to beat on them. Very similar to Lost Ark, deals 40% additional damage to enemies affected by shock. This effect triggers once per cooldown. This is pretty strong. Moving on to Charging Strike, just a gap closer. I'd probably switch to this if I wasn't planning on tanking in a group. Upon landing, reduces crit resistance by 30. This is, again, very strong. And then if you're increasing your crit damage and regenerating life, this will bring you closer to like a Berserker playstyle, which I went over in one of my other videos. Quadruple Strike. This seems very good. Grants threat reduction effects. So we have a tank focus tree and a DPS focus tree. So focusing on this tree is probably going to be what most people do with this. unless you're using the sword and shield. And moving on, inflict shock. Again, we have that other synergy ability there. And shock is obviously pretty strong. Upon landing, a quadruple strike reduces all the cooldowns of dual blade skills by 1 second. That seems very, very strong. Moving on to dual stab. This is again just a straight DPS ability. This makes that this tree has a full set of abilities for the DPS variant. Knockdown, that's fine, increases crit rate by 20%. That sounds good. Crit damage again. And then finally, upon landing a crit hit with dual blades, reduce. Okay, so again, just stereotypical damaging tree. Nothing too special. Executes a whirlwind attack. So this seems like a little bit of AoE there. Clicks knockdown each time Storm Strike lands as a critical hit. And attacking enemies affected by shock guarantees all attacks land as critical hit. So again, this would be like a super DPS, kind of like a Fury Warrior from WoW, or just like a dagger player from Throne and Liberty. Moving on, we're going to move over to the Sword and Shield, which is, one of the Holy Trinity weapons that makes Swordsman, right? And just to look up first or special moves, going to be block. It's very, very strong, triggers various effects upon blocking through passive skills. This is just a good ability. Not all things can be blocked and not all things can be countered. So that's one thing to note, that even with this, it isn't going to mean that bosses are trivial by any means. So shield bash and then sweeping slash again increases threat, pretty strong, does cost rage. Recovers stamina, which is going to be important because shield blocks do cost stamina. On your other class, I don't think they do on this class. So depending on your rage, depending on your stamina, you might not need that. Usually they cost stamina in order to block. Increases defense by 10% on landing bash and slash. Pretty strong. I think that this is a no-brainer if you are a tank. Looking at battle cry. Okay, so this is an AoE taunt that does damage, very strong, increases defense, and it expands the effects. Pretty solid here. Initiates a rapid forward thrust. Okay, with taunting, so this would be like how you engage packs of mobs. You just go in there, get them, follow up with battle cry, and maybe some bash and slash. Okay, reduces attack. Sounds good. Most of this is pretty straightforward stuff here. Has protective barrier. This is definitely something that you're probably going to want to maybe just stick to this first tree if you are tanking here. There's 5% HP per second while steadfast defense is active. Overall, this does seem very, very strong. And if you were a tank, I would definitely, at the very least, consider some of these abilities in the first tree. Sword and Shield Mastery, pretty much the same for it is for every class. Where you're going through and you're just boosting your attacks. Reduce the incoming damage by 20% on using a Sword and Shield skill. Sounds pretty good. Generates 5 rage upon taking a hit. Upon blocking the enemy's attack, generates 2 rage. Increases, okay. This is definitely something you need if you're tanking in a group. A lot of Sword and Shield's usage looks like it's not for solo play. But if you are playing solo, you're still, or even if you're only playing solos part of the time, you're still going to have to use your Sword and Shield because you do need to level it up in order to be able to tank in groups. So please keep that in mind when you are selecting some of these abilities. Hopefully the third tree has some juice for us in order to deal damage and not just be a walking meat shield. Okay, so increases max stamina by 30. This is really, really good. Increases defense by 20% upon blocking an attack. Sounds good as well. Reduces the stamina cost of block by 30% on blocking an attack. Seems solid. Yeah, yeah. See, like it's kind of weird that it doesn't say that this has a stamina cost, but it definitely does. Usually 10. Upon using a shield skill, shield bash, bash and slash, earth shatter, or parry, deals additional damage to 39%. Okay, so that's a pretty solid passive. Deals 50. So like this seems like stuff that at least this um is something that you'd probably want if you were in a solo play situation, making sure that you can increase your damage while blocking and haunting. So shield bash, super armor, really good. Shield bash reduces movement speed by 70%. That's really good, so they can't like run away. Generates 30 rage. You're definitely gonna want this for rage generation. That is a lot of rage there. Angled strike. This seems like pretty solid. Increases the damage of angled strike based on the number of stacks. Reduces the rage cost. Always a solid move to do that. So you're basically want to spam this. This doesn't look like a tank ability, so maybe more solo gameplay. So this is Earth Shatter, leaps into the air, crashes down, gains super armor. This seems very, very strong. Seems more of an AoE thing. So, but this allows you to farm in packs without having to rely on other people. So this would be more of a solo skill, I would think. Especially with this, when rage is above 60%, Earth Shattered deals additional damage equal to 49% of physical defense. So, like, you build up your defense as this class, and you're able to do a ton of damage. Invulnerability is always really, really good, right? Downside of this is if you are using this, you're going to lose threat, which sucks. Reducing the cooldown from 90 seconds by 30. I wish they would just put reduces it by 30 seconds instead of 90. And a reflect here seems really good. Again, mostly solo farming abilities in the sword and shield tree, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use this, because if any other game is a test case for this, tanks are a wanted class. Now, one thing I need to preface this by saying is I do not like this weapon. I've used it a bit, not that enjoyable for me. It feels very much like a great sword should. Feels very beefy, very impactful, but it's just not my cup of tea. So the special move here is a charge attack. You hold the right click button or whatever you have it bound to, and it generates rage when you hit it, and it's okay. I really don't like it personally. Upward slash 1 executes of this. This is a pretty good skill, and I did use this a lot while farming. Increasing attack boost is solid too, and the follow-up attack for upward slash no longer consumes rage. So this is a pretty solid bread and butter weapon for this great sword. So charging slash 1 delivers a shoulder charge, dealing 56.2% damage and inflicting stun. So anytime you can stun an enemy, like, so in my experience, most of the enemies that I've farmed have been rather weak, and stuns are nice, but they're not like necessary. So I probably wouldn't go this. This might be more of a PvP skill or something to that extent. So, and then reducing cooldowns always a good thing. And then the upward swing of 150% also doubles the stun duration. Piercing throw, this is fun. This is a fun ability. I like using this. It feels clunky, I'm not gonna lie to you. It stabs the enemy and then throws them down to the ground. Become invulnerable while using it. This seems like a no-brainer if you are going piercing throw. Again, this is fun. It's not good. I don't want to conflate the two. So use this if you want to just check it out. It's fun. You can throw the mob into other enemies. Groundbreaker is a solid ability, and I didn't have a lot of chance to use this ability, but using it while super armor does feel good. You jump into the group, and I might include a clip of me using it in a different video, so look out there. But it's okay. It's okay. I think that if I was to use something like this, I'd have to use it with like sword and shield, because you'd be in the middle of a pack of enemies, and then it's like, then what, right? Increasing greatsword mastery is a no-brainer. This bastion is also a no-brainer for this, because especially if you're leaping into a pack of enemies, you're gonna want to have that. Rancor generating rage, again, just to emphasize the importance of rage and generators in this game, is you can never have enough rage, right? So you're gonna want to use this. Exploit weakness. This is really good. Bleeds are very strong, reducing defense, doing damage over time. And then Warrior's Draw. Upon switching to the Greatsword, grants hyper armor for 10 seconds. Hyper armor is really, really strong. Really, really strong. So this is definitely a no-brainer here. Increases special move damage and inflicts bleed on enemies not affected by bleed. Reduce the stamina cost for special moves. Increase the amount of rage generated per hit. Again, this is pretty good, because these special moves do usually take stamina, but this one is missing its tooltip to tell us exactly how much. But anytime you can generate rage, you want to be able to generate rage. Upon a basic attack, you land the final strike of a basic attack, reduces cooldowns. This doesn't seem that great, but if you need it to get down to here, you definitely want to. You know, the higher you can keep your rage, generally speaking, even with the Berserker class, the better. So if you could keep your rage really high here, you're definitely going to want to. Following up with Impaling Kick, this ability is not good. Maybe it's better when it starts landing bleeds and stuff, but and generating aggro, but right now in its early stages where I've been using it, it is bad. Executes 2 shift attacks, dealing a total of 215% damage. Pretty good, pretty good. I do like this. This makes this weapon a little bit faster when it is such a beefy, hard to use weapon. Double Slash's finishing blow grants a 30% chance to reset the skill's cooldown. Seems very good. More towards party gameplay, I'd say. Power Slash. This isn't bad. It isn't great either, I would say. But it's pretty good. I do like the fact that it generates bleed. Bleed is very, very strong in this game, as we've seen from the defense reduction. Increases the damage of Power Slash at the cost of rage. It's pretty good. Again, having more rage is always better. Is this going to be too much and put a hamper on your rage generation? I'm not sure. I haven't tested it personally. We're just introducing you guys to all these skills. Deals 216% damage to enemies and inflicts knockdown, and damage increases up to 220% based on the number of remaining rage. Again, everything in this class focuses around rage, reducing sunder cooldown, and increases damage effect on bleed. So that brings us to the end of the skills for this class. Thank you guys for checking me out. Appreciate it. Check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaigaX. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. And guys, remember the most important thing: stay salty, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.